Where's Hope? Where's Hope? Come here. Come here. Come here, Hope. She's shy, but not that shy.
Thank you all so much, and thank you, President Trump. I have stage fright, so.
She's great.
Well, from sharing the stage and stage fright to taking the stand, a nervous and emotional Hope Hicks faces her longtime boss and friend, Donald Trump, in court. Welcome to a special edition of Laura Coates Live alongside Abby Phillip right here in New York. And it was a dramatic day in the Manhattan courtroom for Trump, who now has spent 11 days sitting and hearing testimony in his criminal trial. And, you know, today I got to see it in person with my own eyes. And let me just tell you, when she was speaking, the president and the jury and myself were listening very intently. And yes, she did cry on the stand. And I'll tell you what happened there in just a moment. But what the defense is hoping the jury keeps in mind is the answer to the final question she was asked. Here it is from the transcript. In 2017, while you were focused on your job at the White House, you didn't have anything to do with the business records of the Trump organization, some 200 plus miles away from New York City, did you? Her answer, no.
So Hicks there testified that she did not have knowledge of the falsification of business records. That's the actual charge against Trump, so that's really important. But as one of his closest aides, she bolstered a key part of the prosecution's narrative, that Trump was involved in the deals to silence damaging stories before the 2016 election. Today, Hicks was asked about a 2018 conversation that she had with Trump after that Wall Street Journal story broke that had the Stormy Daniels hush money payments in the story. From the transcript, Hicks says President Trump was saying he spoke to Michael and that Michael had paid this woman to protect him from a false allegation, and that, you know, Michael felt like it was his job to protect him, and that's what he was doing, and that he did it out of the kindness of his heart.
Now, the question went on, and this part is really important for the prosecution because Hicks suggests that it's unlikely, that's being generous, that Cohen did any of this on his own. Here was the question as asked. And did the idea that Mr. Cohen would have made a $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels out of the kindness of his heart, was that consistent with your interactions with him up to that point? Here was her answer. I would say that would be out of character for Michael. Well, why would it be out of character for Michael? She was asked. I didn't know Michael to be an especially charitable person or selfless person. I want to bring in CNN political analyst Natasha Alford, also contributor for CNN, Leah Wright-Rigueur, Washington correspondent for New York Magazine, Olivia Nuzzi, and former prosecutor and defense attorney Imran Ansari. Also here, legal analyst and former prosecutor Jennifer Rogers. I mean, it was a stunning moment, by the way, in this
Yeah, and you were there for it.
Yes.
So tell us about that moment, first of all. The one that everybody's talking about, the tears.
I mean, I was there for it, and I was also here for it. I'll tell you that. And here's why. I was there to see what was happening. And, you know, I can't overstate this, Abby. I've been in so many trials, so many courtrooms. The fact that this was a drab, routine state courtroom, the only thing different was Donald Trump was inside of it. When she walked into this courtroom and when she was testifying on the stand, my mind and my eyes went directly to what Trump was doing and what he was saying. And at the time that she started speaking, before she started crying, it was just the end of the prosecution's case and questions for her, followed by an otherwise really just benign question about trying to ask her about her work with the Trump Organization. At which point she her body all of a sudden became all the more guarded. And she began to tremble. Her chin was trembling, her lips were trembling, and she turned her face away. It was the first time anyone realized there was an issue. In fact, the defense counsel sort of put his hands up for a second, almost in a, I don't know what happened
like,
just
now.
What did I do? What did I do?
He hadn't even really done anything.
He hadn't done anything at that point. And then she turned her face completely. And when she's turning her face away, there's already a box of tissues there. A bailiff is looking to her to try to help her. And he asked her, do you need to have a moment? And she says, crying at this point, yes. And then they had her get off the stand. The jury at this point is completely honed in. They are locked in to figure out what she's doing, what's happening. They're looking over at Trump, and there's a clear view of his profile. And when she walks past him, she makes no eye contact. But Donald Trump looks up at her. His eyebrows are kind of raised as if in concern, like genuine concern for her. She walks around him and kind of shrinks her body as she passes and leaves. And it was this moment I thought it read as authentic, But also, I wondered how the jury was going to see that moment.
Yeah, I mean, the prosecution in that moment, I mean, that could go both ways.
Yeah.
And you've talked about this. You're a former prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
You would have handled maybe that aftermath a little bit differently,
Yeah.
maybe asking her what was going through her mind. But that definitely could backfire with someone like Hope Hicks, where her sympathies are not totally clear.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because you never want to ask a question you know the answer to. At the same token, it was just kind of left out there. When she came back, she said something like, "Sorry about that," and "Thank you for that." And then, you guys, when she sat there was never a moment when the defense counsel said, "So why were you so emotional? What led that?" Now, Jennifer, you've tried many cases, and you can imagine, on the one hand, it could have endeared him to the jury to suggest, "Look, I obviously saw that you were crying." On the other hand, she could have said something very helpful to the defense or very harmful.
Yeah, I don't think you want to ask the question. And maybe you say something like, "Are you all right? Can we proceed?" You know, you want to show that you're human, but I don't think you want to get some speech about, you know, how sad it is for her because how great Trump is and so on and so forth. And I think it
Maybe
all...
the defense wants that, though.
The defense does, but I think it all actually works well for the prosecution because she was so believable and authentic. And she did give the prosecution some good points today. I think they're going to be able to use some of the building blocks she gave them. So I think they're probably happy with that one.
You're nodding. You agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, Hope Hicks got off the stand, and a lot of people thought she may be a mixed bag in terms of the testimony she gave, some helpful for the defense and Trump. But largely, when you take a look back and you look at her testimony and see what the prosecution needs to prove at the end of the day in this case, it's going to be helpful testimony for the prosecution. And the most important part, she came off as credible. If Michael Cohen is going to come into that courtroom and be the witness that's going to get beaten up on credibility, she came across as credible because you didn't really know. Is she still sympathetic with Trump in some way? She's there on a subpoena, not testifying willfully for the prosecution, but by way of a subpoena. And I think that gives her testimony credibility.
Olivia, take us back, though. For many people, I mean, I had never heard her actually speak before today. I mean, very few. I mean, there was that moment on the stage, of course, we know. But who was she to Trump when they were still in contact?
She was the senior-most communications official. She was not the press secretary, so she was never out there speaking for the administration, speaking for the campaign on camera. She's never appeared on camera other than when she is on her way to testify or be a part of some sort of investigation or a trial like today. And she was sort of someone who was known to the press corps who covered Trump and known to Trump world and known among people who sort of treat MAGA as like, I don't know, like the Grateful Dead or something, and are familiar with all the different characters.
Are there dancing bears that are going to come all of a sudden? Hold on, what's happening?
They did the insurrection, actually. But she was not someone who was known to kind of passive viewers and consumers of news. And she was very powerful. She was very close to him, very close to the family. The way into the Trump world was through the Trump organization, through Ivanka Trump. And she was someone who was very trusted and who kind of proved how trustworthy she was over years and years. And the campaign was very small in 2016 in the beginning. Before he got the nomination, before that seemed inevitable, they were first a laughingstock. And it was not a first choice campaign for like top staffers in the right-wing political world. It was staffed by people with kind of seedy backgrounds, not a lot of traditional political experience. And in the case of Hope Hicks and several others, really no political experience.
But the